Hi, Stephen Mirassou, Wine Saves Lives, and the Stephen Kent Winery coming to you again from my porch here in gorgeous downtown Livermore. Absolutely perfect evening. We are about to release one of our seminal wines to our club members here in the next few days. It's the 2022 vintage of our Home Ranch Cabernet. There are probably, I don't know, 100 different wineries around the world that have a Home Ranch Cabernet, but our Home Ranch consists of a roughly 6 acre lot of vines that is divided up into three different varieties. The most important of which is Cabernet Sauvignon. 2.8 acres of the roughly 6 acres are planted to clone 7 Cab, the Concannon clone. Really, again, when thinking about Livermore Valley's influence on the viticultural history of California, this tells a gigantic story. 70 to 80% of the Cabernet that's grown in California comes from that particular clone and that series of clones. So clone 7, clone 8, clone 11, planted back in the 1860s, 70s, 80s in Livermore. It is reputed to have come from cuttings brought back from Charles Wetmore in the early 1880s. Charles Wetmore was the first viticultural department head, as it were, commissioner in California. And he received an introduction to a bunch of the great vineyards in Bordeaux from one of the families that was living here in Livermore at the time. And it is believed that the original cuttings of Cabernet and the mother vine still exists at Concannon came from Chateau Margaux. Don't know whether that's actually true, but it never let the truth get in the way of a good story. It has served us very well, this clone, especially planted in this extremely rocky soil. Referencing Charles Wetmore again, he really looked at this place, Livermore Valley, as being the Grave of California. Southern Bordeaux, very rocky soil, river bottom soil and the like, same kind of influence we have here in Livermore. The old Arroyo Mocho River, which hasn't run through here for centuries, deposited hundreds of feet worth of gravel in the sort of valley floor, South Valley floor area of Livermore, right on what is now Tesla Road, cutting this sort of pie-shaped fan of rocky and alluvial soil that extends out from Concannon Vineyard underneath, south and slightly east to our site. Our vineyard was planted in 1996 to clone 7 on 101-14 rootstock. Very typical and very proper kind of marriage of rootstock and scion material to produce world-class, potential world-class quality cab. This site is an old vineyard now. It's my 30th harvest is this coming year, and this vineyard was planted in 1996, started bearing in 2000, and is extremely important for our portfolio in its consistency, not romantic. I get it, but producing fruit that gives us wine that tends to be relatively dark fruited, very, very impactful depth and tannin on the wine, at least for us, and long finish, really beautiful structure to the wine. Very complete wine from this clone. This site's very interesting in that it's only 2.8 acres of Cabernet, but divided up into three subsections, three sort of sub blocks. And there are two dividing provisions for this small little block. One of them is that there are 5 or 6 acres of Cabernet planted up against the fence line of what is the Pepper Tree Horse Farm in Livermore. And on the Pepper Tree Horse Farm side of the fence, there are a number of eucalyptus trees and pepper trees. These trees are downwind from the vineyard. The air from San Francisco Bay, which is really the predominant viticultural feature in the valley, or terroir-driven feature in a way, comes through the trees, depositing all that aromatic oil onto the grape skins in the first 5 or 6 rows. And we have taken to, since 2013, so it's been a long time, to segregating those rows, harvesting it separately from the other two blocks. We call that Block A. Block B are these short rows in the southern half of the vineyard that is planted on even rockier soil than the other two blocks. soil that does not hold water well, soil that tends to provide Cabernet that's a little bit darker fruited, a little bit bigger. Berries are smaller, a little bit more extraction. And then block C is the front part of the vineyard that, and the longer rows of the vineyard that give us the majority of the fruit, but also give us that elegance and gives us that structure that we've come to really love. I've written notes for 20 plus years about Home Ranch Cabernet, and I've always included this idea of this Home Ranch perfume, which is really a function of the herbal quality, that minty, peppery kind of quality that you get from those trees, the influence of that oil. And we will add a small amount of that separate fermentation back into the final blend and back into other wines like our Livermore Valley Cabernet Franc that tend to accentuate, to add complexity and depth to those wines that we really love. And in the case of Cab Franc, add a beautiful just echo of that herbal quality that I think all great Cab Franc needs to have. We make a couple hundred cases of, well, about 150 cases for the Home Ranch Single Vineyard Series, which is the wine that we're releasing in a couple of days. And then we use Home Ranch as parts of the Premier, parts of Lineage, and sometimes even parts of L'Autre Côte, which is our right bank blend. So extremely important piece of property for us. Gorgeous site. The wine is available first to our club members, and if there's any left over, it's available to the general public. It certainly can be tasted by anybody who comes to our tasting room. We hope you get a chance to do that. Thank you very much. Hope you get a chance to come to Livermore. Very historic place, very beautiful place, producing some of the best fruit in California. We hope you come to Stephen Kent, obviously, to taste our Cab Franc lineup, but also to taste this particular vintage of wine. Thanks very much. Nice talking with you. See you soon.